Welcome to GBALL Vision. Today we're taking a look at some robust, overbuilt, everyday carry folding knives, and we're going to talk about why you need one in your rotation. While we get started, let us know down in the comments what your EDC is today. Now, I think this is an excellent example of an overbuilt, robust folding knife at a very good price point. This is the Artisan Cutlery Proponent. This usually can be found between $50 and $65, depending on where and when you get it. And if you've been around a while, you probably know about this knife, but there are many people who have no idea this knife exists. It's not really the center point for budget overbuilt anymore. It used to be, but it's kind of faded in a sense, but I still think it's one of the best examples. And for the money, you're going to be getting D2 steel, a beautiful Wharncliffe blade. It's got a PVD coating. You have textured G10 handles. You have a reversible lower mounted steel rollover clip. And we are looking at a liner lock for our locking mechanism, which has proper and good lockup. We also have a very robust stop pin on the spine side and some nice thick steel liners. But the knife also comes with this post pin here that you can screw in, and that is going to make this folding knife very, very strong. I wouldn't say fixed blade like, but it's getting close to that point. You have this massive blade in between this huge stop pin made out of steel, this steel liner, and you have this steel pin here. It is an absolute bruiser as a folding knife. But I want to say that oftentimes a overbuilt folding knife can often be mislabeled as something that has a robust or very durable lock. And although you can have a robust or overbuilt knife like this that doesn't have that durability factor, if it didn't have this pin, it would be a lot less substantial. And that's going to take us into our next knife. And the next knife we're going to bring in is the Tenable Bomber. And this is a very robust, overbuilt knife right here. But it doesn't have a super lock or something that makes the lock insanely strong. And I think overbuilt and strong lock get intertwined when really they're two separate categories. Because you can have a huge, overbuilt, robust knife that has a softer lock, so to speak. And you can have very small or mid-sized knives that are skinny, they're not robust, that have a very strong lock in them. So you're really intertwining two things that shouldn't be intertwined all of the time, at least. This is a robust knife, but it's not any more, it doesn't have a stronger lock than any other liner lock knife out there, but it is a more robust knife. We are looking at D2 steel here with this. These may or may not be in stock at the time of you seeing this, but they should be back any minute now. We are looking at G-Mascus handles, and we have a full-length titanium backspacer here and a titanium clip. This is a Midgard's Messer collaboration with Concept and Tenable here on the Bomber. Beautiful overbuilt knife, and it's not too overdone either. But that's one thing I want to bring to the forefront is don't confuse an overbuilt folder for a folder that has a very durable, strong lock, because that is not always the case. Another perfect example of an overbuilt, massive folding knife, but doesn't have that incredible super lock or anything like that. We're looking at the XL Sheepdog from Kaiser, and this comes in a ton of different flavors and several different sizes. But the XL here is an absolute mammoth folding knife. And they come in a plethora of steels as well. This is 154 cm and textured G10. We have a deep carry clip there, and it is right hand only. Good access to the liner here, but if you like that cleaver or sheep split style blade, then the Sheepdog is one of the best options when it comes to that type of blade shape. They have flippers, they have versions with cutouts, they have versions with different locking mechanisms, frame locks, all kinds of different stuff when it comes to the Sheepdogs. And this thing has incredible flipper action and closing action. The ability to give this a very strong opening action, but then have this crazy controlled closing action is very impressive from Kaiser. And another thing on top of a robust knife is the ergonomics oftentimes, especially for males who have large to XL sized hands, and I just mean they have larger or extra large hands, right? I wear an XL glove. I'd say I have a large sized hand, right? But it makes knives, folding knives, so much more comfortable when you have a taller and thicker handle. And that's kind of the play that fixed blades have on folding knives, or one of the big plays is a fixed blade is going to be much more comfortable than a folding knife, but a more robust or overbuilt folding knife is going to be a lot more comfortable to many than a mid or small size pocket knife. Next up, we're taking a look at the Valhalla Lord, and I featured this one a couple of different times, and it's an excellent beast of a folder. These come in around under 50 bucks. It depends on when you get it, but I've seen them down around 40 as well. D2 steel, you have this beautiful drop point style blade and a flat over top of this fuller. You have this really nice satin finish on the primary. You have these huge thumb studs for deployment. Has always reminded me of the Proponent with a different blade shape. We have a frame lock in this instance. Good access with a chamfer on it. Very good action around the pivot on this thing. Good detent. I mean, it is a absolute beast. We have a milled steel clip here and a steel backspacer. This is a robust and overbuilt folding knife, but here again, we don't have that super lock, so to speak. We are looking at a frame lock and can be very durable, very rigid as a frame lock itself. You have good fitment in there, and it's going to provide quite a bit of strength for you. But there are other knives out there that do fit the narrative of an overbuilt knife with a super lock. And you had to know it was coming. The Cold Steel series of knives, if you want something that's robust and going to also give you that overbuilt and super lock, and when I'm saying super lock, I don't mean the actual super lock. I just mean a super strong lock. The AD10 here is sporting the Triad lock, probably the most durable lock in existence. Definitely would give anything else a run for its money, in my opinion. AD10, you can get it in a couple different variations. This is the S35VN, drop point, contour G10, and that Triad lock. Absolute beast of a knife. But then you have the AD15 here, and this is also coming in S35 and textured G10, but here again, there are a couple different variations of this knife you can pick up. We are looking at the Scorpion lock here, and totally different mechanism than we really have ever seen on anything else. And what makes this very cool is you have this arm that runs into the tang of the blade, and as you are squeezing on this thing, it is also putting this lock and pressuring it down more into that tang, so making it even stronger as you grip the knife. Very brilliant. I have long said Demko is the godfather of folding knives, at least one of them in my opinion. And here we have another from Cold Steel called the Engage, and this is sporting their Atlas lock. Not quite as robust as the 8015 or 8010, but I would say this is a much more manageable, robust knife right here for most people. It's not quite as thick and tall as the 8010 is, and it's going to be much more manageable. S35, overdone, oversized thumb studs here. Very, very nice. We have textured G10, and the Atlas lock is phenomenal in my opinion. I really enjoy the Atlas lock, and it has been very, very strong for me. If you're looking for overbuilt, durable, and super strong locks, Cold Steel is definitely a company to put in your sights. So if you're a regular on the channel, these are two knives you often see. There are some of my comparison knives. We have the Spyderco Para 3 here, and we have the Vosteed Raccoon with the button liner lock, or I forget what they're calling it at this point. Top liner lock still, maybe. And the point being here is we have potentially a stronger knife here in these two knives than we do in, say, this knife right here. And you wouldn't think that, and it wouldn't appear that way, but if you asked me to do something where lock dependability was a must, and I had these three on the table, I'm definitely going with one of these two, and most likely the Spyderco, possibly the Raccoon, but that's neither here nor there. And same with this here. You might say, well, what about a frame lock? And, I would definitely still roll towards something like the compression lock here. Or even if we took these two out and you inserted the 8010 or 15, I'm going to take one of those two over these two. Now, that doesn't mean these are any less knives, any less beastly. That's not always the point, and that's not necessarily the point, and that's not what I'm trying to say either. I am trying to give you some clarification as to there are this side of robust overbuilt, and there's this side of folding knives that have a strong and dependable lock. And like a lot of off-grid knives folders, we have the assisted Viper here, and this thing is an absolute beast of a folding knife. We don't have anything crazy going on with our locking system. It is just a standard liner lock, but we also have that nice strong spring in there that's kicking that blade out. We have a nice thick piece of Cryo D2 with a wash finish, and this honeycomb contour G10 handle with a nice deep carry clip. This thing is built like an absolute tank. And if you ask me to pick out one assisted knife, to kind of roll them all, I would definitely go with something from Off-Grid here. They have some of the best assisted knives in the game, and they're built like absolute tanks. If you're looking for something that has that assisted mechanism, then Off-Grid is certainly a company I would look at. I did want to bring out something like this for people who may be interested, whether that's because you have issues with your hands or you just simply like the assisted action. I don't think it's necessary to get my USA made Demco 8020 out. I think the 20.5 will do us justice, so I don't have to get that out. But Demco, he's responsible for the 8010, the 8015. He's responsible for several different locks that we actually see on folding knives and that you could actually classify as a lock. You actually have to disengage it, or it's, you're snapping the blade, you're snapping something else before this lock fails. This particular 20.5 is the shark foot. You have that washed finish with S35VN on this particular one. We have textured G10, and we have a lower mounted pocket clip here. But the thing that makes this knife so interesting is it's a mid-sized knife, no question about it. But what it has going for it is one of the strongest locking mechanisms in folding knives today, right now. The shark lock here is extremely strong. And I don't want to go over all the mechanics, all these, the video would be forever. But the shark lock is an ingenious lock because people like to mess around with their knives. Whether you want to call it fidgeting or not, it's always been a thing. Even, when I was in high school, it was nothing to sit around and flick your knife open when you're hanging out with your buddies or whatever. It's always been a thing. But now Demco has translated fidgeting to having the ability to have a super strong lock, and possibly one of the most fidgety locks, if not the most fidgety lock that you can really get on a pocket knife. But it's also one of the strongest locks on the market. There's plenty of testing out there on all these different locks. I test every single knife that comes across this table to see how the lock holds up. And if you want to find that type of stuff out, it is going to be out there. But I wanted to simply clarify that there is a difference between robust, overbuilt knives and knives that have superior locking systems, and that they can fall on both sides of the coin. You can have a smaller, mid-sized knife with a very robust lock, and you can have one with just a basic, soft, quote-unquote lock. And you can also have the same exact thing with a more robust knife. You can have a robust knife that just has a basic lock on it here, like the frame lock. Not going to be a weak lock, but I wouldn't consider it an overly strong lock. But then you can also turn around and pick up a robust beast and get that super strong locking mechanism that you want. So the great thing is there is plenty of options out there for everyone, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. That is the great thing about the knife world and the knife community. There is so many different options out there for everyone, and nothing is right or wrong. It is up to you to decide what you like, what you need, what you want. You'll have to let me know. Do you have a favorite overbuilt folding knife? I'd love to hear from you. If not, what was your favorite folding knife from today's video? I love hearing from you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. It helps push the video to more people. And if you're new to my channel here and you enjoy knife and EDC content, you're in the right place. Make sure you subscribe because I release daily videos just like this. I'll throw a couple of new videos up on your screen, and YouTube is recommending you go check out right now. Have yourself an awesome day. I will catch you on the next one.